Hey, everybody. Angie Wolfe here with Ideas at Dawn Marketing Consultants, your premier AEC, so architecture, engineering, construction consulting firm. Today, I'm talking about the 6 steps to a successful proposal. And when it comes to proposal, this is a proposal in the engineering, construction, architecture space, not one that is more, call it sales oriented or boilerplate. This is a proposal that your state, federal, or even local governments request for your company to fill out to win work. So what this proposal could involve, for those who don't know, it could involve your talking about your people, your projects, an approach to that project. So very detailed. I've been doing proposals for 20 years now, all in the engineering and construction space. And today I wanted to give you my opinion on what the 6 steps to a successful proposal are. And these 6 steps apply whether you have 2 weeks. A week would be questionable. So let's say 2 weeks to years. These are steps that are repeatable, but also, let's see, they are expandable or contract, depending on the length of time. So I will generally talk about, let's say, the ideal for these 6 steps, without then I have some additional videos that will also talk about, if you had a condensed version, let's say 2 weeks, what should you do, what not should you do, and kind of prioritize that level of effort. So let's get started. So step one, I call strategy. Another word or term that involves this step is capture planning. So this is when you get to know your owner, get to know who you are submitting documents to, who your decision makers are, who a selection committee members are, information like that. In addition to the capture planning and strategy, it also will involve go, no go, and bid, no bid. So what that means, go, no go is if you're going to actually go after the project or not. Bid, no bid is if you're going to bid it once it's out. So that's like the next step. In addition to that, so you also have developing, so now that you also know the client, know you're going to go after it or not, getting to a place where you develop your messages and content so the client can get to know you. So win themes, an acronym, because there's lots of acronyms in this industry. But another one I'll throw at you is a PSOE, also known as AKA IFBP. So PSOE is how I like to name it. It's problem, solution, outcome, evidence. So this is another part of the win theme process that I like to incorporate. And then, so those are kind of the core steps for strategy. And I'll go a little faster as I go through these next ones. And then when it comes to step number 2, so that was strategy. That is everything up and before a proposal or qualification or letter of interest document comes out. Then we have the startup phase. So step 2. Startup is once you actually have a document you need to respond to. So you could have done lots of pre-work, which is another word for strategy, lots of pre-work. So you have a document now. It is now the start, what I call the startup phase. So this is when you will have a proposal kickoff meeting. You will develop a proposal schedule, develop a responsibility matrix, AKA, or also another one could be compliance matrix, a graphics matrix, a style guide. Let's see, I already talked kickoff meeting. This is when in your responsibility matrix, you will identify assignments. So who's doing what, who's the lead writer, who is like a subject matter expert that that writer will work with, identifying page budgets, outlines, what else? Yeah, so lots of things. This is, for me, very a core step that should never be missed, even if you are doing it for a week or 2 weeks, that this specific step in the startup phase is very important. And there's some others pieces within there that are extra critical, in my opinion. But for sure, this step in general is very important. So now that we understand the startup phase and what everything's involved there, so assignments already given, deadlines have been given, you have set review dates. So in my world, we'll talk about it here in a minute. There are at least one formal review process, if not up to 3 or 4 or 5, depending on the length the proposal goes. But those are all communicated. So now that everyone's assignments are given and everyone's writing and developing graphics and content, the ball is moving forward and rolling down the hill. We now need to manage this process. So step 3, I call management. It occurs throughout the rest of the phases, or steps, I should say. And this is when specifically talking about how to manage our team and how to enforce a schedule. So whether that is through daily management of the team and communication, whether that's through emails, through meetings, sometimes depending on the length of that till your due date, sometimes it's weekly, sometimes it's daily, sometimes it's multiple times a day, every other day. There's always a little bit of a blend when it comes to managing that team, and also how many people are involved and what that works for them. So getting to know, as part of that daily team management, what tools and processes work best for them. Also, let's see what else is part of the management. I also group in there kind of enforcing the proposal schedule, that schedule that you develop during the startup phase. Now you have to enforce it. And how do you do that? And for me, that big thing is these daily or weekly or some sort of communication that you are going to use. So that is step 3, talking all about management. Then we get to really the heart of it, which is content. So step 4 is developing content. This is where, besides proposal management, where I probably love it the most. And it started already during your startup phase. So you've developed your outlines, you've communicated, you've hopefully have a good draft of or understand your projects and key experience to hopefully some key personnel and resumes that you're going to use. And now you need to work on your content. So starting that, right, we already outlined it, or we are expanding on the outline that was developed for the kickoff meeting, and now we're developing content. So this is everything from working with our subject matter experts to interview them and helping them develop the content, to us as marketing proposal staff, developing the content using previous submissions, using our own expertise, because we'll know these projects and we'll know our people, and interviewing them to develop the resumes and projects and approach. So develop everything from our executive summary and cover letter all the way through to helping ensure that our drawings and roll plots all meet the requirements. So having our fingers in everything, and content is a lot. And as it relates to content, we'll talk about step 5, but this even can include, I like to focus on the technical proposal, which is our people, our projects, our solution, our approach, our executive summary, cover letters, tabs, covers, those types of things, which we'll talk a little bit about graphics and production later. But I do not focus a lot on the price proposal. In my world, it has not been something that we are focused on. We will do QC, we will ensure it gets submitted, But from a review perspective, unless there is content involved, and I have not been involved, typically with that process. Besides making sure it's on the form, making sure it gets submitted. But now if there are other additional pieces that need to go with that, that would also be part of this developing the content process. Okay. So on to step 5. This is where we will go through a review process. And this is where you have to have flexibility. I, as a, not core, but like to talk about 3, a pink team, a red team, and a gold team. Those are flexible, ideal. I've added recently a blue team, which occurs before the proposal comes out. But in general, pink team tends to be the one that can be a hit or miss and sometimes goes away if it's a short duration. So if it's a pretty short turnaround proposal, 4 weeks or less, or even sometimes 5 weeks. And if we've already developed content, pink team goes away. And why it does that is there's just too short a time frame to fit everything in and be productive with the process. So I'll give you my definition of those and kind of when I have them. But I would love your opinions on that. And again, this is really unique and specific to, I shouldn't say unique, specific to the engineering construction space. So pink team, usually I like to say it's, and this also depends on the section. In general, your document is roughly 20 to 25% up to, in some cases, we are pretty far along in others where it's in 50%. So it's a pretty wide range and gap. If we look at an entire document, our approach tends to always lag behind. Our projects people always tends to be further ahead because those are things we tend to know ahead of time and can progress. So all of these reviews are meant to review our content, determining if that messaging we decided on during the strategy phase is hitting the mark. We will look at graphics. Do we have enough? Do we need more? Are we compliant? First thing, are we compliant? And then we go into all those other pieces and parts. So we've talked about kind of the review process and pink team, and now red team. Red team is the most critical one, in my opinion. It's one that should never be forgotten between red or gold. Red is, in my dictionary, 90-95%. Sometimes it'll slip, maybe 80-85, depending on if things have been changing. But red team is very critical to determining, are we going in the right direction? Do we have the right projects? Do we have the right people? Is everything going as we anticipated? So in addition to red team, one more review after that, we call it gold team. It is when pens are down, everything's done. I call it 100%. Sometimes we will have a few missing holes, call it 99. Sometimes pricing isn't done yet, but it is when, and I didn't talk about timing in all of these because it does change depending on your time frame. But either way, your gold team tends to be your last review. Formal review process with team members, and it's ideally 100% or 99-ish. And one final, which I really don't call it a review because it is a much smaller team and tends to be just the core proposal team who are not review team members, is a final flip. So this is usually, a day before production, 2 days, whenever production is, whether that's PDFing, actually printing, is doing that final flip with the proposal team or proposal manager, graphic designer, and then what's the word? My mind just went blank, like your pursuit champion or some technical business sales lead with them as well. So someone call it the technical side, and then the marketing team as well. Together do that final flip saying, okay, here's everything that's incorporated in all these changes from these different reviews. And now and now it's done. Seems so simple, right? So that was step 5, the reviews. This is where I see most companies and most firms not doing. This is why you're losing work, is you're not even getting ahead of the game and giving yourself time to look at a document and putting all your faith on a marketing or proposal team member to do it all. Miracle workers is not in our job description for good reason. So making sure that we incorporate a review process to create some accountability throughout the other steps is critical. So now that we have submitted our proposal in however time frame and however quick or not quick that was, we are now in the closeout phase. So that is step 6. Closeout. This is where I bucket a lot of things into the closeout phase. This could mean you have an interview prep. But the big things during this phase, in addition to a client interview, is incorporating and making sure you capture lessons learned, both internally within your proposal team, internally within your company, potentially, depending on the relationship, internally with a joint venture, understanding what those lessons learned are internally so you can make the next one better. Also doing debriefs with our client. We can't do debriefs with our client if we are going through an interview phase. So, in working through a client interview, but if we are not, that debrief obviously will have to wait till we hear if we won or lost, but making sure you capture questions and that debrief process is part of it. And as part of that debrief process as well, I'll throw another acronym at you that you can look up. It's called FOIA, the Freedom of Information Act. This process has become so what it is you are requesting proposals from a client, and this is specific to public clients, so city, state, federal, not any private developers, clients, that sort of thing. So where you are requesting the proposals that they received. So as part of our submission to a client, they tend to ask for either an open records copy when you submit it, or if they don't, they will say, hey, Joe Schmo, we received a open records request. Please go through the proposal that you submitted and give us a redacted copy. So that means you have taken everything out that is considered confidential and not part of the open records copy that this firm, whomever it is, sometimes it can be anybody, any person. Sometimes though you have to pay for it. So just be aware of this whole FOIA process. Every entity is different. But they would then get a copy, whoever requested it, a copy of your proposal that you redacted. So that is part of it. That's where we learn lots of things about our competitors, understanding what they're doing. Client debriefs are also a great way to get feedback from our clients, both on our proposal, but especially if we don't get scoring or any sort of detail, understanding what that scoring looked like and why we rated either high or low. And remember, you request debriefs whether you win or lose. Sometimes you get your best information from them when you do win. So making sure you incorporate that whole process into it. One more thing as part of the closeout process, which as a former data knowledge management person, I would be remiss in not forgetting, is the cleanup piece. Cleaning up your data, cleaning up your files, so you understand and know, and everyone else knows, here's what we submitted to the client. Here's our questions they asked. Here is that final revision. Here's the price. Here's the interview. Here's everything that was submitted to the client. So you have that evidence. in case something happens. You just never know. Plus, sometimes obviously you're going to go back to it. It was a great proposal. You'll go back to it again. So having all that evidence for not only the marketing team, but the estimate team, the management team, pricing, whomever, have all of that information. So don't forget, it's not a priority, but you will want to do it soon after so you can make sure that all of those files are gathered. And sometimes we don't even own them. Like if we don't put together pricing, it's making sure we got those files. I don't always request the editable file. So if we have a PDF, for me, that's better than nothing internally. But if we can centralize that, have all the editable files, final files, PDFs, everything that was sent to the client, that is a rising star. So those are my 6 steps to successful proposal. I love to know if there's a certain step or something. I didn't go over everything. That's would take a while. I actually have a full day training to go over everything, but would love to hear additional thoughts and ideas on something that I forgot, or something that's critical to your process when it comes to submitting a proposal. All right, thanks. Talk to you soon.